your typical regional tournaments that you have. It's kind of international. You've got so many different regions. So many different regions have their own style of playing Pokemon Unite, which is why these tournaments are so important. Although I must say, recently with the changes, I feel like every region's just going to be speedster, speedster, speedster from what we've seen so far. But I absolutely love it. I think it's such a blast. I think every team enjoys coming up against other regions because they just throw stuff at them that they're not quite used to going up against in ladder.
Speaking of not quite, used to getting, it's the map as well, right? I mean, what a relief for these teams to play back on Fierce Sky Ruins. I personally do not like Remote Stadium anymore. I felt like I had this love-hate relationship beforehand, but enough about my life. And let's talk about this game number one between the gang and Nouns Esports. Speeds the band out for the gang, and so is the Psyduck, and yet again, an attacker speeds the band out for Nouns Esports as well.
Yeah, interesting stuff there. Let me just swap these names around. But yes, Speedster's getting a lot of ban action today. Talonflame and Absol not getting through, but Bruv does get access to that Snorlax. All these defender players are feeling so happy with the way that Mon is right now. Some great changes made on it recently.
Definitely, I think just taking advantage of the buffs, it just means you can first pick something like a Snorlax and really get away with it. And look at this, double speedster in your second and third slot is something we've never seen before, truly. And that would mean that, after showing that this is the game that Nouns Esports wants to play, I mean, the gang has an opportunity to counter it, and Clash is going to go with the Trevenant and one with a Zero Aura, which is very interesting because it's the speeds of themselves. However, to my knowledge, they didn't have the defense penetration buff for the recent patch.
They didn't. What's crazy right now is that there's 5 speedsters on our draft screen right now, for 2 of them being banned, 3 of them being picked. What a state of game we are currently in. I absolutely love it. Ghatlue, I know, enjoys that Gengar a hell of a lot. Desu's going to lock in that Mewtwo Y. We're seeing teams really go for that Mewtwo Y recently, because obviously Inteleon gets banned quite a bit, but it seems like a good pick that they go to rotate onto outside of that. Maybe because the teleport does give you really good maneuverability, and I think that's why we're also seeing Espeon get picked here, Fu. I think maybe, of course you do have Psyshock, but I think stored power just gives you a little bit of more kiteability around these heavy speedster meta that we're going into.
Actually going to play the Devil's Advocate here, Tano. I don't like the Espeon pick at all. I feel like Espeon just gets one shot by every single speedster ever, right? Like, if it gets onto you, you can't really get out. Obviously, Store Power is a little bit of a dash, but you can't really dash out of Dream Eater, can you, if it kind of lands on you? So, I mean, maybe they've just got something hidden. Or maybe the Unite move is a great way to bait people in. Use the Psychic Solaire for your Trevenant or your Zero Aura to kind of, like, clean up. And the other thing as well is I wonder what type of Hooper Indy's going to play, especially being Hyperspace Hole is so hard when you have highly mobile characters you're trying to save, right? I think Trick probably is going to be a great shout there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm with you, to be honest, especially with the ones that they've got around them. Mewtwo Y could really benefit from that. I just feel like, what attacker doesn't have trouble with speedsters right now, buddy? I feel like Mewtwo Y could have difficulty with Zero Aura being on that other side, but it's an interesting one. You never know how these games are going to go when you've got these speedsters on it, because Gengar takes quite a while to get to that right level, where I say that Haunter obviously has access to Dream Eater, and then you can start getting those resets, but Masquerada takes a little while as well, so we'll have to see how they get on in this. But as we go into this game, it's going to be the first game of round 4. We're going to have Nouns Esports on your purple side and the gang on your orange side.
Ghatlue's going to be taking the central area as your little Ghastly, and that means your Sprigatito will go onto our top path with a Hooper as well. Hooper will be maybe looking in for an invade, or maybe just checking whether the Ghastly will be invaded. That's probably what Indy's going to be doing, and they do spot 2 Eevees up in that top path there, and kind of really fend off any sort of invade so Ghatlue can get that level 5 for the ambush.
Yeah, it does enable Toon to also get a couple of stacks in, something that you really want to do on Masquerada any chance that you get to do so. If they can hit level 5s quite early here on the side of Nouns Esports, they're going to be feeling pretty great. Of course, Gatlue's going to come into that lane as the Haunter. Down here, though, Snorlax is always so difficult to deal with, and then you've got a Mewtwo Y to back it up as well. That's why we're seeing Zero Aura rotating down into here. This is where we're going to see whether it's going to be able to do enough against a Desu. Looks like they're going to dive on in there, but it is the Volt Switch, so it is going to be the Discharge emerge that we expect to see. One managing to get a good KO there, but Adesu seems like they're a bit too much for them to go and handle. That's why Ghatlue has arrived down here. We're about to hit the 850s. Gatlue's trying to see if they can pick up a KO here. They do manage to find the sword with a little bit of that Will-O-Wisp. They do miss the second Dream Eater, but it doesn't matter. It was going to be a triple KO, but Adesu manages to finish that one off.
Yeah, what a great shot to come ambush the bottom path as well, seeing that the Zero Aura were over there. And Volt Switch obviously doesn't have the same impact as Dream Eater, doesn't it? So, I mean, this is now back to capturing some of these wild Pokemon, especially for one, as they do need to unlock the discharge before they can actually go up against them. Trick will be the movement of choice for Indy, and that's what we expected. As now teams are just waiting maybe another 15 seconds before the next contestant farm. Maybe the next fight will go through. Eject coming out, but like I said, you can't really eject out of the Dream Eater, can you? And they're not even playing Store Power Tana. They're going to be playing a Side Shock. What an alpha move to be on an Espeon. You've got no mobility there.
I love it. I love how they go, hey, they're all speedsters anyway. We've got to take an attacker. You know what? Let's also go for the Side Shock. Fair play to them. It's a good strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them. 75 points on the board for Nouns Esports right now. They are feeling comfortable. Zero Aura, though, is managing to keep this level lead. We've just had level 7s hit on Masquerada and on Mewtwo. Why? Not quite at that Gengar level yet, but with that jungle rotation, they're not going to be too far from it. We do have a dash on in here with one. That's the power of Volt Switch, though, right, Phil? You can just use the opportunity to dash on in and dash straight back out.
Yeah, they're going to be using it to try to pull members in and out as well. That's why you see the Zero Aura going for some auto attacks to gain that booster to instantly paralyze the enemy. They don't manage to pick up anyone just yet. And even though they were able to pull someone, it was actually the clone from Masquerada. So, I mean, that's an additional Pokemon to kind of look out for, especially you're already quite fast as a speedster, but if you have a clone as well, it's going to be mighty hard for the gang to actually catch on to you. It's going to be a Registeel for our first baseman Reggie of this game, and this is what Ghatlue likes to see, especially already unlocking their Unite move on Gengar.
Yeah, this is going to be scary. We did see Espeon trying to see if they could back into it there. Of course, with Psybeam and Psyshock, really good secure potential. But the second Ghatlue has sight on them, they're just going to be locking in this Dream Eater. That's going to be scary for them. Nouns Esports are feeling comfortable right now. Indy looks like they're going to rotate around. That top Lecky is ready to go, but we're going to leave Bruv down here to defend this basement pad. We do have free pushing onto it. There's a Psyshock and the Volt Switch coming out of one. The discharge isn't going to be able to do enough, though, because the block is going to stun them. Now we have a Mega Mewtwo Y on the field. Adesu's dropping a huge amount of damage. Oh, the Infinite Side Strike came out, and with that Psychic Slayer, it's not going to do enough. 2 KO for Ghatlue.
2 KO for Ghatlue, and maybe some more as I look to try to push this bottom pad. What a nice little pull by one there, but it's not going to be good enough because the trick just provides enough shield and also perhaps healing for Ghatlue to get out of it. No, Ghatlue actually goes back into the pad and gets punished for that, and one now having a level 9 using the Plasma Gale as well to gain a KO streak of 2 as well, as we're going to be pushing up to the bottom pad.
Oh, I mean, that was really good, buddy. We saw the dash on the teleport with Adesu, but they just ran into one. It's a very difficult situation to be in. I feel like I'm having a little bit of technical issues here. There we go. We've skipped back onto it, trying to score some points into this T1. The block is up from Bruv. It's not going to be able to do enough to stop the 30 raining on in. So the gang have managed to catch up a little bit on this score level.
Yeah, this is huge for the gang. I mean, Zero Aura hitting that level 10 to try to match as much of the aggression coming out from Nouns Esports. Do have Flower Trick to go through, but with a discharge, they're able to steal that buff away and actually take down Masquerada as well. So it's up to the rest of the team to kind of catch up on the levels. They do have 4 Unite moves available for the gang, as opposed to 3 on the side of Nouns Esports. So with this bottom Reggie spawning up very, very soon, Tano, we might see another fight here. Now, having a Hooper Unite is huge for their team as well. Now, Indy able to kind of select where to put a team in, whether they go for a backup play here or, you know, like getting the Hooper portal ready down at the bottom for your proper fight as well. A lot of flexibility there. And we're going to quickly pan down. It's going to be a Reg Ice for the second fight.
There we go, a bit of zoning coming in straight away. Brother's got the block up. They let the rings loose on Indy. They're going to see if they can utilize this for some CC, trying to deal with this Trevenant. The Wish is going to do so much from a healing perspective. Workers just trying to put in the work on the Espeon with the side shot, but they've been backed up to their goal, whilst Ghatlue has been cooking in that top lane. They're going to get that 50 in. Espeon's trying to see if they can go back and stop it. Will they have time? No, they won't. Ghatlue with a nice 50 raining on in. Of course, course they do have the Dream Eater. The Psychic Solaire comes out. They do miss the side shot. Ghatlue's trying to see if they can run. They drop the Dream Eater onto the Aegis Slash. That's the one that you don't want to out of those three. Unfortunate, but they have been able to just cause such a distraction from the gang there.
Yeah, Ghatlue looking for a little bit too much there and actually gives a ton of levels back on the side of the gang now. They had an opportunity to get out, but sometimes it's all about seeing whether you can start chaining with it. Phantom throws to come through, but it's not going to be good enough against Toon's Flourish to kind of secure that Regice for their team. And Flower Trick going to be able to pick off your Umbreon as well. And now the Trevenant is left trying to fend this path by themselves. 1v2 scenario with a Mega Mewtwo Y will mean they also go back to Joy to say hello. 262 to 193 here, Tano. I mean, we definitely have Nouns Esports in the lead.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty good overcap as well on that basement lane, so it feels like it is going to the side of Nouns Esports right now. But having said that, the gang have managed to keep up in these levels realistically, buddy. We have these species at level 13, so they have managed to at least got themselves to stay in this game. And with final stretch not too far away, not too many points between them.
Too many as well, and I'm glad to see, you know, the Zeraora has been keeping on par with the levels, and Espeon hitting at level 12 is also quite decent as well. I mean, I think the plan here is really seeing whether you can land a good Plasma Gale from the Zeraora onto the Speedsters, preferably before Gengar goes into Unite move so that it doesn't actually target anybody coming out of that move as well. And obviously, we do have a good secure potential with the form of Aegis Slash's Unite as opposed to, you know, the tick damage that Masquerada provides. But don't forget, Gengar Unite also a decent secure, especially since you can be kind of invisible and underground.
Alright, apologies for the technical issues that we're having here, chat. It seems like the Wi-Fi is attacking everything that goes on with this tournament today. Sableye has managed to get into our system, and we're dealing with quite a lot of buffering. We're trying to see what we can do to fix that whilst we wait for the action to break off at this 2-minute mark. Currently, Nouns Esports are in the lead. It looks like we're just trying to see if we can zone people out here. We're about 30 seconds away from the Rayquaza, and they do seem to be locking down onto that Trevenant.
I do have to say, though, having a bit of buffering will add to the suspense of this game, especially since it's not really that far apart. Both teams, you know, really holding on, waiting for the Rayquaza fight, but a nice little engage from Ghatlue will delete Zeraora back in. They will be coming back for the Rayquaza fight, just a little bit late, however, but that's just the power of a level 14 Gengar, isn't it?
That it is, and that's why they've made sure that they are at that level coming down to Rayquaza. Just slightly missing the Dream Eater there, but this is why Nouns are going to feel really aggressive coming into this one, buddy. They definitely have a good situation with those levels. A nice block coming in from Bruv there, just trying to back out the Trevenant. Luckily, we're not having any buffering just yet as we hit this 2-minute mark. The teams are just waiting for the right opportunity to dive on in, but of course, it has to be the gang that does so. Nouns Esports are feeling confident. They do manage to find a Dream Eater, and that deletes Espeon Ghatlue. They drop the Phantom Ambush. If they can find a squishy that they can pair with the Dream Eater, but Trevenant is chasing. They have to utilize it to get themselves away. Zeraora drops the Plasma Gale, but they don't want to follow it up because right now, Toon is dropping a huge amount of damage. They use the eject button with the Floral Flourish to find a KO onto the Trevenant. Adesu takes out Zeraora. One by one, the gang are falling through, and with Aegis Slash being 1 HP in a dream, the rip on Rayquaza is ensued. Nouns Esports delete that Dragon Pokemon, and now they can push onto these pads for some Hundo Burger galore.
Oh, it's just so difficult, right? We talked about how much damage a Dream Eater can do, and the Phantom Ambush able to bait out the Plasma Gale, not to really get KO'd either, and just one by one, as you mentioned, members of the gang just dropping like flies. And what a dominant Rayquaza fight coming out from Nouns Esports. Having a comp that is not, you know, too typical of the previous meta, but still making it work with your double speedster comp.
Yeah, that they are. Nouns Esports really impressive. Ghatlue, of course. Gengar, extreme over on that side. I think Adesu puts in absolute bits on that Mewtwo Y as well, buddy. And it just seems like coming into this meta, Nouns have found a really comfortable meta for them to use. They did so yesterday in the weeklies as well. So impressive play by them. The gang, though, they didn't feel like they were out of it. They did manage to at least keep up on those levels and those scores until we hit that Rayquaza moment. So they just need to really come together for a good team fight in those final 2 minutes.
well. I mean, the gang is leading the leaderboard so far in the standings. They definitely know what they're doing, and obviously for a best of three scenario, it is still a great possibility they can push it to number three. But they have to focus on the second game and kind of think about maybe switching up the bans a little bit. I like the Talent Flame ban, but is Intel really a problem at the moment, considering the fact that you can just pick a speedster and really take it down? I feel like their draft would have been fine into something like an Inteleon, especially having a Volt Switch Zeraora. So maybe banning out perhaps a Gengar, it kind of like helps out with the problem, perhaps, and just leaving Toon on Masquerada may be an easier question to answer.
Yeah, I think I'm actually with you there, Fu. Maybe the Inteleon isn't too much of a threat with how strong they are. I mean, look at this here as we look at the graph. It was a close game until we hit that Rayquaza moment. So fair play to the gang. There's a reason why they're currently leading the standings. We'll have to see whether they decide to shake things up as we go into the next game. We'll get that prepared for you now, chat. And yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like every now and again, like we end up in a meta for Pokemon Unite where for ages, it's just that. It's been all-rounders and defenders that have been dominating for so long. And then a patch change happens or they add something new. The defense penetration they've added, I think they're going to have to go back and look at because, I don't know, it just feels like there's not really much that threatens these speedsters right now.
Yeah, there really isn't it. Like, I mean, to beat a speedster, maybe you just play another speedster, and hopefully you are able to KO the enemy team faster than they KO your team. And that's probably why so many speedsters are banned out as well, just to reduce the amount of counter. I mean, it seems like, we talk all about these speedsters, but Leafeon, which was so prevalent maybe 2 meta ago, it's not really played at all, right? And possibly just because, even though Leafeon has such a great early game, it doesn't really have the same amount of impact in that latter bit, and not something comparable to something like a Gengar or, even the Masquerada Unite as well. So now it's Esports. Banning out Umbreon is very interesting here, but looks like the game has kind of remembered how strong Gengar is and banned it out for the second game.
I absolutely love that. Respect the ban on Ghatlue. Let's get rid of the Gengar. Yeah, Umbreon is an interesting one. I feel like that's probably just due to how much it can help with Wish, right? And just disrupt the other team. Slowbro is just self-explanatory. The Slow Beam just takes out a Mon straight away. Talonflame getting banned by the gang as well. They just know, let's not let Ghatlue get access to these species that he's been cooking on for these past 2 days.
Yeah, it's really actually interesting. This is a possible chance for Nouns Esports to play something like a Comfey Absol, because Absol is the other species that's let out there, and I think maybe that is the play. They've first picked Snorlax so far, and actually afford to give the duck to Ducky Loco TTV, which is, I guess, the perfect person to play Psyduck. And I mean, TTV Bits has an opportunity to kind of pick what they want, and I love this pick here. This is so intelligent from their side. They probably sense the same thing. And I mean, there are a couple of speedsters left that might work well with a Comfey, but I mean, Absol Comfey, definitely very hot duo to pick up right now. And I guess McDonald's worker picking up here is going to be a great way to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, I think that's a great decision as well. Indy's going to lock back in that Hooper that they utilize so well. Ghatlue is going to lock in the Miraidon. So this is the power of Pokemon Unite right now. There's so many viable picks. Mimikyu is going to come out to play. One of those pseudo speedsters realistically, Fu, right? And it still does really well in this meta. It's actually pretty good for trying to counter some speedsters as well. So I like this from the gang. They've really realized, let's get rid of the Gengar and the Talonflame. Let's take the Absol. And then we're going to go with the Mimikyu as well and try and target what we can on the side of Nouns.
Exactly, and I think Mimikyu Play Rough could be great into some of the squishier comps. Ghatlue picking up the Espeon here, probably going to be switching with Adesu, I think, as Adesu. Is there going to be that attack player? But Dodrio, another species that we've forgotten, might be a distant shout as well. Having a Bliss Unite onto something like that could be good, but looks like TTV Bits are going to go on the Garchomp instead. Not too sure how Garchomp plays into this comp, especially having a double team Masquerada, but for the rest of them, they may be able to scoop something out. I mean, block, I'm just thinking from Brav, we'll be able to stop that stun coming through as well. Won't get grabbed if they have that up. So a lot of, I guess, different ways you can counter something like a Garchomp, but Blissey Garchomp, Helping Hand, Safeguard, that's really what I expect as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of options they can actually play, right? I don't really have a typical defender either on the side of the gang. So I'm very interested to see how this game goes.
Yeah, I'm actually with you. I feel like Clash locking in on TTV bits there as a pocket Blissey is going to be really important for this game, Fu. Of course, they're coming up against a lot of melee heavy mons. I mean, of course, Espeon is there, but you know it's not quite as much range as the other ranged attackers, so they're not going to be able to do much against Garchomp, but get in its face. When you have a Pocket Blissey, that's going to be very difficult to take down. So that's a really interesting pick. I suspect it's going to be in that top lane with Mimikyu, possibly grabbing the jungle or the Absol will actually. Either of them can work in lane. But I like that the gang have got themselves an easier earlier game as well, and they have got some good counter picks for what Nouns were doing in that previous game.
Exactly. I think early game is so important, especially going up against a team as aggressive as Nouns. Just, at least going even in the path is going to be the number one a goal, right? And to make sure that you don't lose any paths to begin with. We're going to start it off now. And it's actually going to be Ghatlue on the Espeon. So maybe a bit of a different game here as a Desu will take that Zacian up in that top path.
Yeah, really interesting. It is going to be one in the central area with Mimikyu. That's going to be a really good power spike at level 5 to come into that lane. Gibble in this basement lane alongside Psyduck. That's actually a good pairing, but it seems like they just want to grab all of the experience they can without being too aggressive down here, Fu.
It's just a great way to set up a path is to have Psyduck with something that shreds so well, like a Gibble. And as long as Ghatlue doesn't get that level 4, it's going to be a favored secure, I think, for the side of the gang. And, on the top path, we have Absol. Probably going to be struggling a little bit into the Zacian in the earlier portions until this Mimikyu comes to help. And the great way about flexible speedsters is also they can take the second round of central area as well, right? But we're going to have a hugely engaged from here from the Mimikyu. One's going to come down to look at something. They know there's still an Eevee in this path, so probably an easier time than ganking something like a Zacian.
I really like that they've gone for the Shadow Claw here on the Mimikyu, buddy. They really are going to want to try and lock in on these squishies, see what they can do, putting a lot of damage onto Bruv there as well. But now we're going to retreat back to gang. They're playing quite cautiously here, and I quite like it. Grab what experience you can, don't push too far. Although, as I say that, Clash looks like they've been caught out here with a Desu ripping them down. They're going to head into the jungle here, so it's going to be Zacian cleaning up the rest of this central area for Nouns.
Yeah, we're going to quickly pan up top side to see what's going to happen. And Toon is almost level 7. They do hit that region already from a top path Pokemon. That's very, very good on their part. They're going to get a cheeky little stack in as they look to get out there. And maybe it's a different Masquerade this time, even though they have a Flower Trick. Is that right to say they've got Trailblaze this time just to afford that additional dash?
I love Trailblaze. It's one of my favourite movesets to use on Masquerada. But yeah, it's interesting. With that Flower Trick, there comes the Sacred Sword. That's going to absorb most of that central farm for the Mimikyu. Is on 1 HP in a dream. They do manage to find Hooper, but then Ghatlue takes them out with the power of Psy Shock. Espeon, now we have a Gabite getting prepared to ambush Bruv and Ghatlue coming onto this. That's probably not what Ghatlue wants to see, but despite that, it's only a Gabite, Fu. There's not a lot it can do against those two Pokemon.
Yeah, there's not going to be that full stun that you can have with the Dragon Claw. And I'm just have to say, though, is there something cooking with the Psyshock Espeon? So many times, we've got a Psyshock Espeon, and going up against a Mimikyu and an Absol with a Garchomp looking to push you, you just have no mobility. So maybe there's something that I don't know about this Pokemon. Maybe it's all about just a better aim, right? If you get a stun on them, sets up a great engage for your team. Regardless, though, we do have a push onto this bottom pad for Nouns Esports, and with Garchomp not able to get Garchomp so far, Gabite is still going to be looking for that extra experience. We're going to have a Trick Room Mimikyu as well selected for 1. What do you think about that move?
Fascinating. I love it. I love it. You don't really see it, but I think it's such an interesting move in the game. It's really awesome to see. So, hey, let's throw it out there, buddy. I don't know whether it's better than the Shadow Sneak at this stage. The Desu does manage to take that Lecky, and now they want to push on to this pad. I feel like the Shadow Sneak could have worked quite well against the squishies. But, of course, Nouns, they're very much in your face with the way that they are right now. So maybe Trick Room is the call, but it does seem like Nouns want to push onto this T2 pad. And with Bruv throwing up the block, they're now going to be able to rein in points. We don't have the springboard at the home base here, Fu. It's 6 minutes in. That comes in at 5, so they can throw a huge amount of points onto this T2 pad.
They can. I think it's just very difficult, especially without having an Absol or a Mimikyu Unite to stop that push there. And Bruff HT with the block is going to be able to really knock out everyone else from the pad. Adesu 1v3 in this bottom part there might go down to the Mimikyu if they're not careful. There goes the play with me, and that's going to be a lot of experience. If they can actually knock them out, they are successful. That's going to be one down for Nouns Esports as we have members now just trying to push it back just in case something happens. Now with the cavalry coming out from Nouns, we have the Livid Outrage now pushing on, but gets quickly stopped by the power nap of Snorlax, knocking up the Psyduck. The Psychic will be able to pop the passive on Ghatlue, and it's not going to be good enough because the Midnight Slash doesn't even connect at all. They're looking for more, and I think this is the moment for the gang to quickly back away. They've gotten some value from taking out a level 10 Zacian. They probably don't want to lose it and give it all back to Nouns.
That was such a shame. McDonald's worker has been on shift a bit too long, buddy. That Midnight Slash was just close to taking out Ghatlue, and he absolutely will because it's so much damage, but just missing that is definitely an opportunity that they managed to miss. Of course, Ghatlue is only level 9 at the moment, but so is the Absol. We are about to hit the midway in this game right now. 250 points on that board against 13. The gang are definitely on the back foot here.
The gang trying to find a way to maybe get a KO. Now, I guess the drawback of a Trick Room is that you're not going to be able to get to the squishies with ease. It's all about kind of brawling in your face, maybe playing a bit of front to back. But when you do have an Espeon in the back line, it might be hard to kind of take down. You do have a Registeel as the second basement Reggie of this game, and TTV Bits against the Zacian Unite there. Zacian actually goes in early. Eject coming out from the guard chopper actually gets stunned out and actually will get KO'd as well. So still on the back foot is the gang. Bliss Assistant going to Mimikyu before they fall, and it might be a push now on both ends of this map for Nouns Esports. Nice little block from Brav. We do have a 44 attempt from Toons, but the play with me will be able to successfully land on Ghatlue, but somehow Ghatlue still tries to make it out of there. Luckily, Psyduck will be able to get that KO for their team.
We do have the full power Psy-I-I. That's going to do enough to save Ducky. And now they push onto Bruv here. They've got the Psycho Cut. But look at the amount of damage that Bruv is managing to absorb, buddy. They're going to be able to take out McDonald's worker with the assistance of Toon on the Masquerada. They were fighting there for like a solid minute or something ridiculous. And now Esports have come out of that feeling really rosy with 262 points on the board.
I just realized we forgot to mention, Tano. It is a Flail Lax that Bruv is playing, yeah. Not a heavy sand battle. I was wondering, I was like, where is the engage from the Snorlax? But it seems like they use block to obviously gain that additional shield, and then when things get tough, it's all about that Flail to do that massive amount of damage as well. And maybe this is the counter to some of the species that we're looking for. Not too sure how it works, but we do have a Flower Trick running at the TTV Bits right now. Ghatlue going down to the Absol. The Midnight Slash actually hits this time, so great news for McDonald's worker as they're looking for more. Psycho Cut onto Brav. Power Nap now to stun 3 members. We do have the Trick Rooms get set once again. More KOs need to come out from the gang if they want to get some of these levels back, but nice little isolation from Brav will mean that Hooper actually takes down the Absol.
I mean, to be fair, they needed to try and get their Unite move back for Rayquaza, so maybe getting KO'd gives them a little bit of charge at least. We also saw the Power Nap, as you mentioned. It looks like Cash is going to go down here at least. Gatlue's going to lock that in. Free Registeel here for Nouns Esports. That's the buff that everybody seems to want more than anything. Is Ghatlue going to allow it? No. Okay, they do take the KO. That was mean. They're giving them that false hope, that false sense of security before they take that KO.
Yeah, something teams like to do is kind of delay the supporters' KO so that they might struggle to actually come back into the Rayquaza pit in time. Great strategy, but the Blissey wasn't a lot of a cooldown timer anyway. Masquerada Unite pops in early into the Livid Outrage as well. Toon trying to get away now. They do so successfully. And we do have now teams just engaging immediately. TTV Bits no longer HP after using the Unite move. Midnight Slash might be good enough to take down Adesu. It takes down Ghatlue first before they actually unite. And Adesu, not a lot of HP, hiding the left pixel bush, managed to get out there. No scoring on top, even though the Regieleki walked in. And we're now in for a refight, folks, as Mimikyu and Espeon are trying to get back into the Rayquaza pit. do have 200 points in favor of Nouns, and it's yet again up to the gang to make a difference. Nice little pull by McDonald's worker as well with TTV bits, and that means Toon is going to be out of this next fight as we have another engage coming through. Sacred Sword on the Absol. They managed to knock them out of there, but they get pulled by the Psychic Tano, and Adesu goes down. Bliss Assistant onto Rayquaza. It's going to be on 1 HP. Who's the kill is this? It's going to be the Mimikyu. It's going to be one, saying that they won one game for themselves as well, as we might go to the distance as the Psyduck gets a huge little 82 up on top.
Yeah, with this coming in, that's 249 on the board. If the Garchomp manages to take this, which they will. Oh, that was so close. The Flail max damage, it just wasn't enough. It was a 1 HP shield and a dream. But of course, we do have 40 seconds left. They have taken out Garchomp. That's a 30-second spawn timer. This is why we're seeing one get themselves in a position where they could score another 82 points. That might be the difference in this game. Ghatlue is hanging back, just prepared for it. I don't know whether the Psyshock is going to be enough to break that shield, but Worker jumps onto this T2 pad, just seeing if they can break some damage onto them. But now's the push from Nouns. The Psychic, the full power Psy comes on out. They do manage to find Toon. I don't think they're going to be able to rein these points in, unfortunately. Buddy Zacian is down there on that bottom pad, but the 82 goes in. The gang taking this second game. We're going to a game 3.
We definitely are. I mean, it's like they say, right? In the club, we're all fam, but in Thea Sky Ruins, we're all the gang. We have a 1 apiece from both these teams. What an incredible fight there. And I think taking out Toon early on just meant the second fight was much easier. And with all those Unite moves getting used already, it was just about the raw damage that these teams can put out. And a great Psychic from Ducky to pull in the Desu and make sure that they go down as well. And after that, it was only Ghatlue for the secure. So it got a little bit too much, I think, with the overwhelming number of players still available in the gang. But nonetheless, this is what I like to see. 2 absolute Titan teams fighting it out for a final game to really determine, right, who is going to be number 1 in the standings for our day 1.
Yeah, I mean, it did feel like Nouns Esports were pretty comfortable in that game, to be honest, Fu. But the gang found the way to bring it back. What a fantastic Rayquaza battle they had. And they managed to come out on top. I mean, bruv, dropping 86k damage on that Flail-Lax is ridiculous, mate. Did more than the Absol. That is ridiculously strong. But as we have a look at this graph here, of course, it was Nouns all the way. 13 points the gang managed to score until we hit that 8-minute mark, and then they had 33. So really, it did come down to having a fantastic fight from that team.
It definitely did, and especially since Nouns had the Reggie buff as well, and like Reggie Steel buff, it just meant that it was a lot harder. But like we said before, because there were 2 fights there, there was an opportunity for the gang to come back in. So, I mean, game 3, what do we do? Are we still going to be banning out speedsters? We're going to let it go? I mean, they took our advice, right? And that's why I'm claiming that they banned out Gengar. It seems like the secret to winning the second game. Is it going to be the same thing they're going to be doing for the third one? Don't fix what's not broken. Or with the switch of the sides, perhaps a different priority can be afforded here. So what do you think that these teams should do for this third game?
I just think you can't not ban the speedsters, or at least not throw something alongside a Gengar or a Talonflame. You definitely can't let both through. I feel like maybe run it back. I feel like they managed to find a way to keep themselves in that game, come back and have a great Rayquaza battle. They just know that Nouns are aggressive from the get-go, and they continue to lock in that snowball any opportunity that they get. So they need to be prepared for that. I like the fact that they were getting more of an early game for themselves over on the side of the gang, but for me, I don't know whether the Garchomp was the answer, to be honest, but I know that, of course, they were great moments for it, but it took so long to get to a point where it was doing something for their team. I feel like that may have been just not the right call. So let's see whether the gang shake that up as we head into this draft screen here. Looks like they're staying on the same sides here, Fu, so Nouns are going to stay on that first pick.
I do expect a Snorlax first pick, but before then, we're going to see the bans. Will they have anything different? Looks like it's going to be the exact same first ban. The Umbreon will be not playable in this third game for both these teams. Gengar going into the ban gel as well. I never thought, in a million years that we will see so many speedsters banned out. But Psyduck is going to be changing it up for Nouns Esports. They're going to be banned out, but same double speedster ban from the gang.
Every time I look at speedsters being banned, I just feel like I'm home. This is where I belong, buddy. Pokemon Unite, speedsters being the meta. This is where I belong. Bruv, picking up the Pokemon they belong on. Snorlax is an easy lock-in, and what a shift they put in that game.
They definitely did. It's just the power of not only your heavy slam Snorlax, but also the flail doing huge amounts will be great there. Bit of a change up here for the gang. We have a Blissey Absol to rock on their roster. So, I mean, Esports gets a respond to that. I think perhaps, yeah, Toon going back on the Masquerade. They've been playing it all day, and Ghatlue now has taken away the Garchomp from TTV Bits.
I love this, and I find it so interesting that Garchomp does so well in these games in general, just with this meta, because it's not like there were many changes to Garchomp in recent patches, Phil. It's just the fact of the way other mons have been nerfed or buffed has meant that it works really well. One is going to lock in the Zero Aura as well, so they're going for the double speedster comp on the side of the gang. Ducky has taken the Trevenant, so they're going to build some good frontline around it. This could be quite scary for Nouns Esports, but if they do lock in this Hooper, it is definitely going to give them an easier game against them. A Desu looking for the Espeon is quite interesting, especially if they don't go for stored power, as we've mentioned quite a bit here. For that Psy Shock, I know it does provide that stun, which is absolutely huge, but against two speedsters and a Cinderace, that might not be the call.
In the world, it's the draft that the gang has put out. I mean, I know one plays Zeraora, but I'm just thinking, did they pick it so that there was no comfy Zeraora available for Nouns Esports? Because comfy speedsters are still very strong, especially since there are only 2 speedsters banned out there. I don't really understand the Cinderace pick, in my personal opinion. It just feels like something like a Masquerada. It's just so easy to take down 3 members now, right? Because they're also squishy, especially with the defense penetration these speedsters will have now. Makes it a little bit easier for them. Regardless, though, we will be able to have a better secure, I think, on the side of the gang if they have their Blazing Bicycle Kicker ready to go. I'm keen to see how this third game unfolds, because this is the last 10 minutes, right, to determine in this round number 5 who's going to lead the standings.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the gang have really taken it to Nouns Esports. I do think the Cinderace pick, I don't know with the way the game is right now. Attackers are having the worst time of their lives in Pokemon Unite right now. It's not an easy time to be an attacker. But I feel like Cinderace and Greninja are having a little bit of a resurgence from what I've seen, just because the maneuverability that they have, and even feint on Cinderace, does allow them to be a lot harder to catch. If you're an attacker that is difficult to catch, you're at least doing okay in this meta compared to others. So maybe that's the plan for them. We'll have to find out, but here we go. We're going to head into this third game. Now Esports still on your purple side, the gang still on your orange side.
Yeah, they're going to go through. Now, Toon's going to be taking this central area now, because we do have Ghatlue with the Gibble up in that top path, and one will do the same in their central area as well. So Absol's going to go up against a Gibble in the early game, so it's going to be a little bit hard with double melee. Hooper will be coming out on top in that matchup, I think. And speaking of matchups, I mean, a Score Bunny in the bottom against a Snorlax is a tough core to play, and Bravo able to get all those raw Pokemon is going to be huge for their team.
Look at the shift Gatlue's putting in there, and he just really providing them with the healing alongside that focus band. Just means that they were able to put a huge amount of damage onto 3 members of the gang. Toon here taking this central area away from one. They're going to steal that buff, get themselves back to their home pad. That's exactly what you want to see from your own central Pokemon.
That's exactly it. 10 seconds until a possible ambush for these 850 birds. And it's going to be Zeraora hitting the bottom path first. And one is ready to go. But Adesu now with the Espeon, and will be able to provide a stun if they land the Psy Shock. We're going to have it start. It's going to be still power here. So it seems like we never are able to call it right. Even though I expected that Psy Shock will have a different type of Espeon in this game.
They like to keep us on our toes, buddy. They've definitely gone for the right move. I love it. Adesu's going to cook with that in this game. Ghatlue trying to see if they could steal Clash away. They weren't able to. McDonald's worker dropping a huge amount of damage. Oh, one pulled them back, and it was enough for them to go back onto the Hooper portal. That is very unfortunate for the gang. And Phantom also falls to the power of Adesu. It's not quite going the gang's way here, Fu.
It definitely isn't, and with the portals coming out instead of Trick, it really are able to help two members right from the get-go to make sure that they come back with full HP as well, and that's going to send McDonald's worker flying back to their pad. They don't really have the ability to knock out any of the range targets so far. They're just trying to get the best. It's going to be it's a nice slash Absol, isn't it? Compared to a Pursuit.
It's my favorite build on Absol Night / Psycho Cut. It does so much. It definitely does mean that they can get in and get out quite quickly, but of course Pursuit does give you so much speed. But we'll have to see if it's going to be enough for this game right now. Hooper staying up in that top lane. But down here, the gang want to put some aggression onto the side of Bruv. But the block they're utilizing is huge. I'm liking this gameplay from Bruv. It's so fascinating to get that shield with just that move. Throw it back down and then you've got so much that you can take.
It definitely is a great way to keep yourself sustained in the fight as well, especially since, you know, it gives the opportunity for Hooper to bring someone else back as well and not really just focus on the tanks all the time. It is a great relief of that pressure. We do have a level 7 Zero Aura with the discharge available, but looking at the levels, however, Nouns Esports very far ahead with a level 9 already on the side of Toon.
Yeah, this Red Jice is just going to get ripped down by Nouns Esports. Some good zoning coming there from Bruv means that that's going to be free real estate. The gang trying to do the same in the top lane with this Lecky. Looks like they're going to be able to with the Flaming Blazical kick coming in. Oh, but there's a living outrage as well, Fu. Is it going to do enough to pick up Trevenant? The eject button comes on out. That's not going to be able to, but the Floral Flourish will. I believe that was a free KO for Toon as they rain in these points onto this pad as well. 2 points it's left on. They're seeing if they can get it on the 1 and get the 30 in. Oh, that's going to be a 29 overcap.
Wow, what an incredible way to turn that around. Even though they lost to Regieleki, so much value on the side of Nouns and Masquerade Unite, just doing so much in terms of pushing onto the pad and getting those 3 KOs. It's just a huge shout out to how this Pokemon has really benefited from the recent patch, hasn't it? Nice little pull though from 1 into the Horn Leech. This is a fantastic display of synergy from your team and really forces out the power nap from Bruv HD. And will they be able to take it down? They will. Send Snorlax back to the Pokemon Center. And all while that's happening, Ghatlue does get a 40 on top, though, so pushes them into the lead even further. Plasma Gale looking onto the Hooper. Probably wasn't the target they're looking for. Yet again, Flora Flourish will be able to send the Bliss Assistant onto Cinderace to make sure Bit stays in that fight. Yet again, the Cinderace so squishy, right, in some of these fights. It's really up to them to kind of time their fate well as well. I just want to make sure it's actually going to be Flame Charge Pyro Ball. Is that correct? Just want to make sure that we call the right move.
Yeah,
that is interesting.
I thought it was earlier too. I thought it was the Blazing kit, the Unite move coming from Cinderace, but of course they were level 7, so it is Pyro Ball that they're playing, which is so interesting. That does make it even harder for yourself to deal with what's coming your way. So, you know, interesting decision. They're now going to push onto this pad from Nouns' perspective, but that's going to mean that they do go down. Bruv is going to defend against 4 in that basement lane, whilst Nouns push this T2 pad. McDonald's worker trying to put in an overtime shift here. We do see TTV bits coming up onto the pad as well. This is the difficulty of pushing this before the after the 5-minute mark. They have the springboard. A double KO for Ghatlue. Looks like they're going to be able to get out of here as well. So despite the fact that they had a lot of damage coming their way through, Nouns Esports score the points, get themselves away.
It's just a perfect display of just great macro, isn't it? And Gatlue's able to stay in the top path as well to rip that Regieleki, even though there's a fight at the bottom. Nouns Esports managed to pocket that Regice as well. Midnight Slash to come through, not really looking to anyone except Bruv HD, and they don't really care because, one, they've got the Power Nap available. Secondly, they have the Hooper portals available as well. So it just seems like, although there's a lot of damage coming out from the gang, that there's not enough to take down a single target. And now Trevenant has popped their Phantom Forest to stay in this game as well. Not able to actually pick out anybody. Maybe Toon will go down there, but the Flora Forest were able to do so much damage. They do ultimately explode in the Plasma Gale of 1 though. So perhaps it's still a decent amount of XP and also value that the gang is getting. But look at that top part, just constantly pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. This is what I'm liking. if the pressure's coming in one lane, they're trying to do the same in the opposite. We're going to get 40 points ringing in here from Clash. McDonald's worker looks like they could get this 50 in with the assistance of their teammates, allowing a quick goal. So good bit of positivity here from Degang. They've managed to score some more points. We're about a minute away from Rayquaza spawning, so they're definitely behind, but levels wise, managing to keep themselves in the fight here at least. Masquerada on level 14 is definitely going to be a scary sight though, Fu.
Oh, it definitely is, and I think Toon is now just trying to get their Unite move back for the next bit of fight. It's probably going to be the final stretch. We've got a minute to go. Not too sure that there's actually any opportunity now for the gang to push a pad. They are going to be setting up positioning very early on, but so is Nouns Esports as well. You can see these players know how important positioning is, and especially for their team where they have the ability to kind of chain stun with the Horn Leech as well. Maybe if they get a good pull, they're going to be able to get an early fight in there as well. So, bit of a Horn Leech onto the wrong target. The clone will be able to bait that out. And the benefit of Store Power, as you can see here, Tano, is that you can get some free pokes out of nowhere, just dashing away, putting it in. Another Registeel for Nouns is a huge RNG in their favor. How do they have this plot armor, Tano?
A plot armor, it absolutely is. Registeel for the second game. That is definitely going to be scary. They've got a huge buff coming into this. They may have been able to catch out Trevenant as well. Good Horn Leech there trying to push Toon into their team. But of course, Bruv is there just to be able to cause some huge damage with that flail. And now Degang has been backed up into their own central area. It looks like Nouns are just going to prepare for them approaching this Rayquaza pit, ready to rip off on anyone coming their way. TTV Bits does drop the Pyro Ball over to the wall there. But again, Nouns Esports are just prepared for any engagement that Degang go for.
It's just so hard because for Ducky, it's kind of like a guessing game to see whether they will actually teleport from the side of Toon there, and they have to just use the Horn Leech. So sometimes a great way to bait it out. Speaking of baited out, there's the discharge coming out from one. Now we have Ghatlue all the way up in the top part there. Both teams are trying to fight in this top area. We do have a bit of isolation that Bruv is trying to do. Goes right into the portal, so that's nice to come out full HP. Weather Liver Outrage randomly into the Phantom Forest here. Everyone just trying to go for an engage as the Unbound will come through from Indy to pull their team back in. Ghatlue maybe not that lucky anymore, trying to get out with the boost to heal. They actually take down Trevenant before they go down as the Business Assistant finds one out of nowhere, and Adesu is going to be running after this Aura. Will they be going to be good enough into the discharge? They're 1 HP. One stands of that 1 HP. Not going to be good enough as Indy sees the opportunity to knock out the final member of the gang. Nouns Esports able to grab this Rayquaza uncontested. A bit of a scramble of a Rayquaza fight, but they do come out on top.
Yeah, what a round 5 this was, buddy. That was fantastic play by both teams. But Nouns, the teamwork that we saw there, I mean, going back Indy there, just making sure that one did get KO'd while Odessi was chasing them down, take that out of the fight. Now they just lock in the Rayquaza. Nouns Esports are going to come away with this game in this round 5.
They are going to be able to do just that and really cement themselves on top of the leaderboard going to round number 6. I mean, what an incredible performance from both these teams. A great showing of the power of both speedsters and also Pokemons that can potentially counter speedsters, right? But I think it's just... it's a great display of how the meta has shifted so fast. And with the March qualifiers coming out for NAIC, I mean, this is going to be a very interesting lead up to that. And just looking at the battle report here, kind of even damage across the board. However, do have to say the fact that Bruff HD took in 39% of the team's damage. Great way to ensure that, your speedsters and even your attackers aren't going to be, in the front line to take the brunt of the damage.
Bruv is just, in my opinion, the best defender player in EU, buddy. Maybe even the world, to be honest.
Maybe even the world, right?
It's so difficult to handle him on anyone, especially Snorlax. After we have a look at this graph here, it was just Nouns Esports all the way, to be honest. It did feel like maybe that something could happen at the Rayquaza fight, as the gang managed to do so in that second game, but they definitely had the answer to the two speedsters that were coming their way. Wow. Okay, buddy. Fantastic play from these teams. Nouns have managed to take themselves this set, which surely means that they're going to go first in the standings so far because the gang were in that position. It's just such an exciting game, isn't it? These sets have been incredible.